What is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's procurement strategy? What are the procurement and acquisition challenges facing DHS? And how is DHS improving the operational performance of its acquisition function? We'll explore these questions and so much more with my very special guest, Paul Courtney, Chief Procurement Officer at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. What are your specific responsibilities and duties that are under your purview? And how do you work, Paul, with other components of the department?
Great question. So, like most agencies, I'm the chief procurement officer, but DHS secretary has delegated me as a senior procurement executive as well. And I'll just use the acronym SPE for that. So I've delegated authority to designate heads of contracting in the respective organizations. For instance, I delegate the head of contracting their authority for FEMA, for ICE, for CBP, et cetera, throughout the department. So in the capacity of Senior Procurement Executive, or SPE, I'm really responsible for the governance, oversight, integration, and administration of the procurement function, which also includes our acquisition systems and implementation of unique acquisition policies, regulations, and standards for DHS. I have direct management oversight of one of the heads of contracting, which is the Office of Procurement Operations. It is typically our largest contract activity and also does all the DHS classified procurements. And on top of that, provide oversight to the other heads of contracting. There's 8 others right now in the department. And just to give you a perspective about how much business the department does each year, how much contracts we award. So in fiscal year 23, we obligated $28.6 billion across about 62,000 transactions. So we did this by achieving a pretty impressive competition rate of almost 80%, which is great, which means we can, we had competition in almost a vast majority of our procurements that we did. So we help enable this within my office by providing just a couple things. One's a suite of enterprise and government-wide strategic sourcing and best-in-class contract vehicles. We deliver highly successful small and disadvantaged business utilization program. We do a phenomenal job. There are many, many years of A's and A pluses on the Small Business Administration's report card. We've done a good job developing and retaining, great to develop them, but we also want to retain them, a highly skilled acquisition workforce. We do a lot of meaningful communications with our industrial base, with Congress and other federal agencies, including the U.S. Government Accountability Office, Office of Management and Budget, and then OMB's Office of Federal Procurement Policy, and a lot of other key stakeholders. Also, we provide access to high-quality systems and tools for streamlined electronic contract writing and other database and reporting systems. We have a pretty good supplemental to the federal acquisition regulations. So we have that, which includes our internal policies to support our mission. And finally, we promote procurement innovation for full and open competition by challenging barriers to doing business with the department. And I think we're one of the leading agencies as far as procurement innovation goes within the federal government.
I'd like to get into your vision and strategy for the Office of Chief Procurement Officer within the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So could you outline for us your strategic vision and perhaps your goals that you are focusing on over the next couple of years?
Yeah, great question. So really, our overarching strategy is to engage with industry as early as possible, facilitate collaboration, and really spark that innovative solutions that are out there. So again, my office really encourages industry engagement through a variety of methods, including our strategic industry conversations. We have something called micro-reverse industry days, acquisition innovation roundtables, and just specialized training sessions as ways for us to engage with industry. And recently, we've actually launched an internal industry engagement training program and published a supplemental 2-page guide titled A Practical Guide to Industry Engagement for Program Managers, Requirement Owners, and Contracting Officers Representatives. This guide is focused on encouraging early industry engagement before and during the requirements development process with tips on best practices to increase the effectiveness of early engagement. And this is key. Many years ago, Office of Federal Procurement Policy came out with what they call Mythbusters. And this is just kind of just the continuation of that story. Like, we want to have industry engage, not just with the procurement teams, but with the acquisition workforce. So again, we're going to encourage that to happen. Once the procurement officially starts, when the solicitation gets issued, that's a different story. But up until then, we want our staffs, both on the procurement and the acquisition side, and with the requirement owners to engage with industry often and just continue that dialogue. So our plan is to continually enhance the internal training we deliver to our program managers and requirement owners, and we're developing and publishing more kind of bite-sized guides that highlight the many ways we can leverage industry's expertise to support our work. Also, like to take this opportunity to plug our upcoming strategic industry conversation, which we're holding in person in Washington, D.C. on March 28th. At this event, DIA senior leaders, including our acting deputy secretary, will discuss upcoming priorities, emerging needs to ensure industry is better positioned to support the department's mission. This event really is DHS what's our largest annual industry engagement, and I encourage everyone interested in attending to visit sam.gov and please register. Just you mentioned the strategic plan. So my strategic plan really covers four fundamental priorities to help enable effective acquisition support that covers the entire acquisition process, from helping requirement owners define the requirements to awarding the contract, and then helping ensure all contract responsibilities are met. I've mentioned this one already, but the first priority is prepare and empower our people to excel. So we want a team that's empowered to bring creativity, innovation, and critical thinking abilities to our work here. Second priority, mentioned this too, energizing partnerships through collaboration. It really is at the core of what we do and how we do it. This priority emphasizes the need for collaboration with all stakeholders engaged in our process. The third priority is inspire innovation to enhance mission capability. This focuses on our ability to bring great energy and innovation to the work we do in support of our customers' mission. It's about maximizing the use of our collective talents, tools, and resources to get us the outcome we desire now, as well as creating flexible contracts that accommodate marketplace evolutions. A good example of this is on-ramping. We've learned over the years that our longer contracts, we probably need a way to on-ramp companies who may have new expertise in the area, or just we need a bigger pool of competitors. So we've now are incorporating on-ramps to our large contracts. The fourth priority, enrich the DHS procurement experience. It really is about not just a great experience for the vendors, industrial base, also for our customers and for a procurement professional. It really is enriching that DHS procurement experience. So those are the four kind of pillars of our strategic plan here in the department for our procurement teams.
Paul, I was wondering, as you were shaping that vision and outlining those goals, and you must have taken into consideration some of the challenges that the federal acquisition community as a whole is dealing with, but in particular, obviously the department. What are some of those key challenges facing DHS procurement? Are any of these challenges unique to DHS because of its mission portfolio? And if so, could you tell us why?
Great question. So as I mentioned this earlier, the budget is a big challenge for us. So I'll start off with a challenge specific to the acquisition community, and that is maintaining adequate staffing. For years, there's a big wave of retirements coming. Well, we have had a number of retirements and just natural movement. So we need to ensure we recruit, develop, and retain that top-notch talent. So to stay ahead of the loss of skilled and trained contracting professionals, we have instituted several hiring initiatives and programs, and this is not, I think we have probably one of the best ones in the federal government, but we're not the only ones doing this. And as we talk to other agencies, recommend if they can, again, this is back to the constraints of the budgets they have available, to really open the aperture for new talent, and even people who want to switch agencies that bring other skills they've learned through their careers, that keep that aperture open from new people to people that are senior people in the career. So what we've done is we created and manage what we call the Acquisition Professional Career Program, APCP. It's a highly regarded, it's congressionally mandated as of recently, department-wide effort that addresses the critical mission readiness and succession planning needs. So a couple parts to this. One is this particular one is an entry-level career development program. It offers participants an exciting structured way to begin their careers. So many of our APC participants, they really begin as we call it our student hire internship pathway, or SHIP, SHIP. Or we also have when these are ones, the SHIP folks are ones that are in college, that we're recruiting people and getting them while they're still in their college career or the college training before they become a government employee. We haven't gone that way. Another one which I'm really proud of is we call it the Warriors DHS pathway. This is taking veterans, and when they're done their service to the nation, we partner with the Veterans Administration, and we have them. They complete their 4-year degree. When they complete that, they become part of the APC program as well. So since 2008, which is when the program started, we've graduated nearly 400 of these acquisition professionals, and many now serving key acquisition management and leadership roles throughout the department. So this brings an incredibly diverse and highly skilled and educated cohort represents the future of the acquisition workforce. So generally speaking, the federal acquisition community also must continue the innovation so we can keep meeting those future challenges. So the Procure Innovation Lab was launched in March 2015. It's an environment supportive of innovation and the inherent but managed risk associated with departure from business as usual. So some of the folks listening to this probably have heard of the Procure Innovation Lab or PIL before, but it really does provide a platform to test new ideas, share lessons learned, and really promote best practices. And the goal of innovations test at the PIL really is to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of procurements, and importantly, lower entry barriers to encourage new, non-traditional contractors to compete for work within the department. So the PIL is committed to sharing lessons learned and providing education opportunities. So as of end of last fiscal year, kind of put some stats out there. Everybody loves stats and metrics. We've held over 93 boot camps for over 7,000 attendees, non-coaching clinics for 383 attendees, and we've had over 70 webinars for over 21,000 attendees. And just to let you know, that is not just DHS employees. These are throughout the federal government, and believe it or not, also includes our contractors. We've invited them to our boot camps, and of course, they can listen and participate in the webinar. So, fantastic way to share the information government wide. So, I want to mention time as a challenge specific to DHS. You'd all ask that question. We're charged with protecting the homeland, and oftentimes must act quickly and decisively. We can plan for certain things or events, but we must always be prepared for the next potential threat and to meet the DHS mission. So a few years ago, one of our components was tasked with putting a fence around the U.S. Capitol, and just the time they were able to get that procurement in motion and get it set up was within 24 hours. Again, an incredible. I mentioned the dedicated workforce of the department. Just the way they were able to do that, the program office, the vendor, and our staff to do it was so impressive and great to watch us, protect the in this case the U.S. Capitol a few years ago.
What is being done, if we could switch gears a little bit, to the procurement supply chain? Can you tell us more about efforts around that area?
Sure, I can, Michael. I'll give you a really good example. So as a CPO, it's my role and responsibility to procure goods and services and help our staff do it for frontline personnel to fulfill our mission. The supply chain is an important part, and as we went through the pandemic, we all know how important it is now of how we procure these goods. Therefore, we do need to identify and mitigate risk to the supply chain. And while we can't eliminate all risk, we can prepare and position ourselves to offset risk wherever possible. And the example is, our frontline operators are required to wear personal protective equipment. PPE has become a common term over the last few years, regardless of whether we're in a pandemic or not. So we engage with industry to build a first of its kind PPE safety stock, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, or in the business we call it IDIQ contract. This contract allows us to procure up to a 3-month supply of PPE upfront, and it's stored at a vendor's facility. So not stored in our own facility. It's just the vendor's responsible for maintaining that 3-month of supply. So as components purchase PPE, the vendor can continue to replenish stock and maintain an unexpired 3-month supply of PPE for immediate access whenever the department needs it. So it's, whether it's gloves, whether it's masks, whatever, the vendor is responsible for maintaining that 3-month supply. And it's been working fantastic so far. So again, not our job to maintain it, the vendor needs to maintain it. It's just another example of how we're mitigating risk and building resilience into our supply chain is through a nitrile gloves blanket purchase agreement. So nitrile gloves, this blanket purchase agreement we have, components can procure the gloves at pre-negotiated prices and that support their operational needs. For instance, TSA's nitrile glove BPA spend averages about $3 million a year, with $92 million spent between May 2019 and May 2023, primarily to meet the pandemic requirements. So $87 million alone was spent in FY20. So as we work to identify ways to leverage nitrile gloves, and our stock of nitrile gloves remains steady in case of future crises, it won't happen, but in case it does, an industry partnership was established to expand domestic manufacturing capabilities for these gloves. So as a result of this tremendous effort by our team, in May 2023, we formed a new industry partnership through the opening of a manufacturing plant in Grove City, Ohio, to produce more nitrile gloves, not only accomplishing our efforts to strengthen the supply chain, but also providing jobs for the American people as well. This Ohio manufacturing plant, owned and operated by American Nitrile, is a 530,000 square foot manufacturing facility with 6 state-of-the-art assembly lines. It produces 120 million medical and research and lab gloves per month, with the capability of producing up to 3.6 billion gloves in this calendar year alone. So, along with this nitrile glove strategic sourcing vehicle I mentioned, although it will expire in 2024, we've already we've been ahead ensuring that this vital commodity remains available to DHS frontline operators through our PPE safety stock vehicle, which is a mandatory department-wide vehicle for all PPE products. So again, our safety stock vehicle was established following lessons learned of the COVID-19 pandemic to really ensure DHS has a consistent supply of PPE available to its employees. Now, when the pandemic started, I think not just us, but everybody was scrambling to get those supplies. So it was critical for us to make sure we had this. And not only is it already fulfilling the department's requirements for nitrile gloves, but it's also meeting our frontline workers' needs for other products like face shields, garments, goggles, respirators, and surgical masks. So we'll continue our efforts to protect our supply chain. Again, I wanted to provide just some pretty real-life examples of how we're doing that today.
Paul, before we close, I was just focusing towards the future. Are there any of your highest priorities that you're going to be focusing on over the next couple of years or so?
Great question. Continuously improving our service delivery and just enriching that DHS procurement experience for everyone by investing in our procurement community's professional development, enhancing our partnerships, and really bringing creativity and innovative solutions to our work. That is really the highest priority over the next couple of years. Is if we do those things, I think all good things will happen for our acquisition workforce and procurement workforce.
This has been the Business of Government Hour, a conversation with Paul Courtney, Chief Procurement Officer at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Be sure to join us next time for another informative, insightful, and in-depth conversation on improving government leadership and its effectiveness. Until then, subscribe, download, and listen to the entire interview at iTunes, Spotify, Audible, or on your favorite podcast app. And as always at businessofgovernment.org.